Alaska Airlines invited employees to offer their opinions, then fired 2 flight attendants because their opinions were grounded in their faith. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. Have you downloaded our app yet? It is the best way to keep track of these conversations. It's right there on your phone. It's free. It's our gift to you. Just look for First Liberty Live wherever you get your apps and whatever store you get those from. And it's well designed. It's easy to follow, and you'll be able to pick out whatever episodes pique your interest. Just again, First Liberty Live. Look for the app and download it today. Jeff Mateer is our Executive Vice President and also our Chief Legal Officer here at First Liberty Institute. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Stuart.
I want to get your take on this. First Liberty just took a major step in this case. Tell us what just happened.
Well, we just filed earlier this week a new federal lawsuit on behalf of Marley Brown and Lacey Smith against Alaska Airlines and their union in federal court up in the state of Washington.
Yeah, and not to get too much into the weeds here, but the precursor to this was you start out by going to the EEOC, and they have to give you permission to sue?
Right,
Is that how it works?
The procedure is when an employee has been subject to discrimination, like our 2 clients, Lacey and Marley, then what you do is before you file a lawsuit, you have to go and file a charge of discrimination with the EEOC. So we did that last year. We filed a charge of discrimination with the EEOC, and then they began their investigation, and eventually they give us a right to sue letter. So we received the right to sue letter a few months ago, and the next step in the process is filing the federal lawsuit.
And the reason I wanted to hear that, there is such a process to all of these, and I think it's important for the rest of us, because we watch, cop shows on TV, and these things happen like that. In real life, it's a process. It takes time and a lot of dedication from the people that work on it.
Yeah, I mean, the rationale behind it when the civil rights laws were put into place and then the Congress formed the commission to investigate claims is hopefully to bring the parties together, to have the company acknowledge that it's discriminated and fixes it without having to resort to court. In our case, Alaska Airlines wanted no part of that. They would not discuss the case with us, and so we had no alternative but to bring this federal lawsuit.
Now, we've talked about this case already here, but I'm sure many people haven't heard about it or have forgotten the details. So give us a refresher on what happened, what led us to this point that we needed to file a suit.
Yeah, it all starts back in February of last year. So February of 2021, Alaska Airlines has an intercompany message board on the internet, and out in the super wide world of the web.
Not open to the public.
Not open to the public. And the company, posted an article stating that they support the Equality Act. Equality Act is hasn't passed yet, Stuart, a proposed law that would expand protections that would include protections for gender identity and sexual orientation, and importantly, would actually curtail or limit protections for religious people provided by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act.
It basically says you cannot use the Religious Freedom Restoration Act as a defense to file a claim. You can't do anything with it. It just guts it.
Yeah, some people have said, some experts in looking at the legislation have said that if it passed, it seeks to trump religious liberty rights. And obviously at First Liberty, I know we've done a prior First Liberty Live on it, I believe, with my colleague Keisha Russell. We oppose it because it would curtail religious liberty rights. Well, Alaska Airlines, nevertheless, posted that it supports the Equality Act.
Which they have a right to do.
Absolutely. A company has a right to say what legislation it supports and doesn't support. A company has First Amendment rights. However, in articulating those rights, it cannot violate the rights of its employees. And that's what it did in this case. So the company posts, it supports the Equality Act. And then both of our employees post in response to the company's post. Now, the company put on it, here's a place to submit comments. And so people commented. Actually, lots of people commented. Our 2 clients commented. Actually, they didn't comment technically. They actually posted questions.
Okay, like what?
Well, for instance, Lacey, and I want to get it exactly right. Lacey posted, as a company, do you think it's possible to regulate morality? That's all she posted. Now, she was motivated by her religious beliefs in asking that question because she had done her own research. And she knew that the Equality Act had some problems and could impact religious people.
Yeah, and she very much was just sitting on the couch, typing in a response. She had a lot more thoughts about it, but that's what she ended up putting on the page.
Yeah, no, she just basically, and she actually had done some research.
Yeah.
She had, is it appropriate to ask a question? And she saw, and under the rules, it's appropriate to ask a question.
And encouraged.
Yeah. And so she did that. Marley actually saw Lacey's post, and she saw that people had liked it.
And they don't know each other.
And they do not know it. Well, they do now.
They do now,
but they did not then. They might have run into each other somewhere, but they were not friends.
Yeah.
But Marley saw Lacey's post, and Marley had done even a little more research, and so she posted, "Does Alaska support endangering the church, encouraging suppression of religious freedom, obliterating women's rights and parental rights?" And then she cited and quoted from an article from the Heritage Foundation, which relayed some myths about the Equality Act.
Yeah.
So both of these employees, based on their religious beliefs, decided in response to the company's invitation to ask questions. And in both cases, Stuart, within 24 hours, they were pulled off their flights, told they couldn't fly, were suspended, were investigated, and within 30 days, actually less than 30 days, both were terminated.
So we want to hear your opinion, but not an opinion based on your faith.
No, that's exactly. I mean, that's what the company has clearly demonstrated, that when they asked the question when they asked and told people to comment, they didn't want comments asking questions.
Yeah.
In fact, what they wanted was only support.
I've talked to people since this case came around and we started representing Marley and Lacey, who've flown on Alaska Airlines, and they all, for whatever reason, they all remember that the airline used to, a decade or so ago, put little prayer cards with the meals on the jets, and they had at least some faith expression in the whole company, and it was part of the culture there. But then that started to change. What's happened over the last decade?
Yeah, and it's a shame, because it is a company that prior to, say, 2012, really had a rich history of respect for religious beliefs. And in fact, I mean, I like fun facts.
Yeah.
And so a fun fact is this company in the late 40s and early 50s actually participated in airlifting persecuted Jews out of Yemen into Israel.
Wow.
And so that same company 50 years ago now is disrespecting and beyond disrespecting, actually firing people for simply asking questions based on their religious beliefs. It's really incredible. This company has moved so fast in the last decade from being a company that had that rich respect for religious beliefs to a company that actually now is attempting to erase religious beliefs.
Yeah, and that I want to get to that point in particular because we're all familiar with the language of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Whether we know where it came from or not, we've all heard about national origin, race, religion, sex, all those that are protected classes as it is. But Alaska Airlines decided they'd kind of change that up a bit.
Yeah, so Alaska announced, and like a lot of companies these days, and we're seeing it over and over again, Alaska announced that as an initiative, they were going to promote diversity and inclusiveness. Now we've seen that and throughout, and it is certainly a characteristic of a lot of corporations that have gone woke.
Yeah.
In itself, those words aren't bad words. I often think of the Princess Bride, the great movie. It's got to be one of the greatest movies of all time.
Very quotable.
Very, very quotable, including I don't think you know what that word means, or something to that
You
effect.
keep using that word. I do not believe it means what you think it means.
Oh yeah, see, perfect. That's why you're here, sir.
I could do more than that, but don't get me started.
Yeah, you can. I've been told that Senator Cruz can recite the whole movie, and I have been in his presence where he's quoted from it numerous times. So I think that's probably true. But I think the airlines, as a lot of woke corporations, really don't know what the words diversity and inclusiveness mean.
Yeah.
Because they've defined some things out of it. And in the case of Alaska Airlines, we don't need to speculate. We know that they defined some things out of it. So they have, in announcing their initiative, and I was going to say ironically, but I really don't believe that much in irony, but a few weeks before posting that the airline supports the Equality Act, the airline announced a new initiative that it was going to be committed to a more inclusive workforce by 2025. And then it stated what that inclusive workforce should include. And it quoting it said, "At Alaska, we believe every person deserves respect, regardless of race, ethnicity, capability, age, gender, or sexual orientation."
I detect a word missing.
There seems to be a word missing. The word, of course, is religion. So they are committed, and why I say they don't really know what that word means. They're committed to diversity and inclusiveness as long as it doesn't involve people of faith.
Wow.
That doesn't involve religion. And we know that it's not a mistake, because someone could say, well, that was just one statement. No, they've repeated this statement. Time and time again, they have said the same list. They've listed protected characteristics, things that are provided by federal and state civil rights laws, but they eliminate the word religion.
Now, I used to be in the TV news business, and this is the point where I would ask you this question. How do we know that these weren't problem employees and this wasn't just the final straw that got them fired?
Well, what's good is their employee files will answer that question. They were both exemplary employees. They both were honored employees, and their files are full of comments. I mean, look, you and I have flown quite a bit, and we know when we have a good flight attendant, and I've had through the years many great flight attendants.
It's a hard job.
But you know what? I have never commented or sent an email to the airline saying, this person was a really good flight attendant. Now, I quite frankly, I've thought about it a couple of times. Actually, I've been so seeing people, and I thought, we should hire that person at First Liberty. They're so outstanding in their job. They're cheerful about their job. But, I've never gone to...
And I'm not either.
And that's shame on me, perhaps. It's made me think. But, in the case of both Marley and Lacey, repeatedly, numerous times, in the case of Lacey, over 50 times, passengers have specifically emailed, commented on her as a flight attendant. Same thing with Marley. They're both outstanding, exemplary flight attendants.
And Marley was recognized in the company newsletter just shortly before they let her go.
Yeah, right before they honor her by holding her up as this is the type of flight attendant you need to be.
For people who are curious about the legal aspects of this and all, why does this need to go to a judge and ultimately to a jury?
Yeah, so it's a federal lawsuit, and the EEOC process was initiated so that we could attempt to resolve it short of a lawsuit. The airline has had no interest in doing that at all. So we have no alternative if we're going to vindicate Marley and Lacey, not just only on behalf of them, because I think they both see a bigger role in this. They're doing it on behalf of all of us.
Yeah.
Everyone who works at a major corporation who is trending or has gone woke, every major corporation who is not respecting people of faith in the workplace, or in the words of Justice Kavanaugh in a recent Supreme Court decision, viewing religious people as second-class citizens. I mean, that's really what Alaska Airlines is doing in this case. And so in order to stand up, Marley and Lacey had one alternative, and it's to file a lawsuit. And so we filed the lawsuit. I think it's 50-some pages long, excluding exhibits, and to present their claims to the court. And ultimately, we've asked to present the claims to a jury of Marley and Lacey's peers. Because the airline is based in Seattle, we've had to bring the lawsuit in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
So we know one of our other cases started out in the state of Washington and went to the Ninth Circuit, and we were there just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we were.
For Joe Kennedy. And so I hope that the lawsuit the company will realize that this is a lawsuit that needs to be resolved. But if they never come to that conclusion, just like in Joe Kennedy's case, we'll fight at the district court, and we'll fight at the Ninth Circuit, And if we have to, we'll fight at the Supreme Court.
We're already guessing, but explain to us what the larger impact of this would be on employees across the country if they're to be successful in this.
Right. Well, this will send a strong message across the country that a corporation, yes, as we mentioned, a corporation can speak what it believes. No doubt about it. Just like a Christian business can speak what it believes, a left-wing corporation can speak its beliefs. But what it cannot do is discriminate against its employees because of their beliefs. And that's exactly what Alaska is doing here. They're discriminating against Marley and Lacey. So what does that mean for anyone who works in corporate America? It's the same message that you don't have to be quiet. You don't have to check your religious beliefs when you walk into your place of business. And you certainly don't have to be, as Justice Kavanaugh said, you do not have to be treated as a second-class citizen.
And that's, I think, a significant part of this story is we're representing Lacey and Marley because they respectfully and in a proper place at a proper time asked a question and they were let go. But I get the impression there are many more employees of Alaska Airlines who feel similarly, but just aren't saying anything for fear of their jobs.
No, and we've already started outside the court process, a discovery process. And what we've learned, and no doubt we'll learn more as the case develops, is there's an extreme chilling effect. Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you were an employee at Alaska Airlines and you saw that two employees simply asked questions that came from their religious beliefs, and those two employees were fired within 30 days. And the union didn't really do anything to defend them. What would you do as an employee? Well, unfortunately, you perhaps try to leave, find another job, or you just be quiet. Yeah. Because, if you like that job and, do you really want, if they're going to fire someone for asking a question, well, can I read my Bible during private time? Can I pray privately? Can I have a private conversation that's religious in nature?
If people notice that I go to church, will I get in trouble?
That's right. If I wear a cross? Yeah. If I'm Jewish? Any of those reasons, which all of those things, by the way, are protected by federal law.
And that's the important part of all this.
They're protected.
The rights of those employees are protected under federal law, clearly, and many states as well also echo that law.
Well, every state protects religion. There's no exception to that. So in this situation, because Marley was based in Seattle, she's suing under federal law and Washington law. There you go. Lacey was based in Portland, so she's suing under federal law and Oregon law. Both of those laws, all three, federal law, Oregon, Washington law, protect being discriminated against in employment based upon religion and the long list of things. Remember, that's the list that Alaska Airlines deleted religion from. But you know what? Federal law has not deleted religion, nor has Oregon and Washington law, and so that they will be protected.
Anything else you'd like to share before I let you go?
Just to emphasize again, these women, courageous women. They could have gone on their way and just said, this is, we made our point by standing up. We've been terminated, but we want to get on with our lives. And I think what's important for our supporters to know, for those for those tuning in and listening, is the Marleys, the Laceys, the Joe Kennedys, the Gail Blairs. These are men and women who they could have moved on, but they're willing to stand up. And when they do so, yes, they're standing up for themselves. And we want to see the day that Alaska Airlines has to pay back damages for the firing and the damages that both Lacey and Marley have incurred. We want to see an order reinstating them, just like we want to see an order reinstating Coach Kennedy so that he can coach again. But when they do so, they're really standing up for all of us, because this is going to send a strong message to the woke corporate America that you can't cancel your religious employees. You can't erase religion despite your attempts to do that. So I so admire them. They are women. Marley and Lacey are women of courage and willing to stand up. So I encourage or pray for them, because if the battle of Coach Kennedy tells us anything, we're just starting. This battle is just starting. And we need to encourage these women who are doing such a great service for us.
Very good. Jeff, I appreciate what you do for standing in the gap and standing up for those who don't have the resources or ability to stand up for themselves. Thank you for that.
Well, it's an honor and it's a privilege every day to get to work with these brave men and women and folks on our team who every day come to work and just do such an outstanding job to support religious liberty.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. If you'd like more detail on this case, we have a special page set up on our website. We'll put a link to it in the text that goes along with this video. It has more detail. There's a feature video on one of the flight attendants, so you can hear her story from her directly and see what happened and what you think about it. One thing I want to point out, though, that's very important is they will never get a bill from First Liberty. And the only way that we're able to do that is because of the support of people just like you who care about these issues as much as we do. So let me just say in advance, thank you to all of you who make this possible for us to give them top-notch legal representation that otherwise they would never have access to. Thank you for that. We will see you next time right here on First Liberty Live.